Ladies and gentlemen, the ceremony will begin momentarily. Please silence all electronic devices at this time. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the entrance of the official party and remain standing for the national anthem and benediction.
I invite you to join me for the invocation. Father God, we gather today to recognize these 4 young men and this 1 young lady who have attained the skills, knowledge, wisdom, and potential to be commissioned officers in the United States Army. God, I pray that you would raise them up to be leaders of character, integrity, resolve, and honor. May they be decisive in their decision-making, relentless in their pursuit of excellence, unwavering in the enforcement of the highest moral and ethical standards. May they be brave and courageous, able to face uncertainty and danger with confidence and poise. May they lead by example, that others may seek to emulate them. Grant them insight that they might correctly balance the demands of mission and command with the needs of their soldiers and their families. May they always turn to you for wisdom. May they find that you are their unfailing refuge and strength. May they always sense your presence in their midst, and may they find that their faith never fails them. We ask this all in your holy name. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Marshall Newmarket Battalion Professor of Military Science, Michael E. Wrzeniak.
Distinguished guests, faculty, cadre, and family members who traveled here today, thanks for being a part of this important ceremony to commission 5 Army officers. Today's ceremony formally signifies the beginning of service for them as officers and also the acceptance of tremendous responsibility and commitment to our nation as they take the oath of commissioning. As listed in the program, these 5 will begin their Army journeys in several different branches and components. Monique McGow will begin as a quartermaster officer in the Army Reserve, serving in Arizona with initial training at Fort Lee, Virginia. Drake Nixon will be an active duty ordnance officer, also going to Fort Lee, then onward to Fort Hood, Texas. Vincent Ouyong will be an engineer officer in the Nevada Army National Guard with his training at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. Jonathan Ribby will be an infantry officer in the Virginia Army National Guard with training at Fort Benning, Georgia. And John Sinelbar will be an active duty infantry officer headed to Fort Benning in January. Today is an occasion to wish the best of luck to these young men and women as they begin their journeys in the Army. It is an absolute honor and a privilege for me to introduce our commissioning officer and guest speaker for today's ceremony, Major General John Epperly. General Epperly is a graduate of the United States Military Academy at West Point, where he was commissioned as an armor officer in 1989. He served on active duty in various assignments for over 8 years before transitioning to the Virginia Army National Guard. Since then, he has commanded and led soldiers at all levels of the 29th Infantry Division, to include his current position as the commanding general. His impressive operational experience is highlighted by deployment to Operation Iraqi Freedom while commanding the 3rd Battalion, 116th Infantry in 2007-2008, and recently as the Deputy Commander of the 29th in the Arabic Gulf region in support of Operation Spartan Shield in 2016 and 2017. He took command of the 29th ID on April 5th of this year, and additionally, in his civilian profession, General Epperly serves as the Executive Vice President for Defense and National Security at DMI Incorporated. I can think of no finer officer to officiate over this commissioning ceremony. Ladies and gentlemen, General Epperly.
General P., Colonel Warzeniak, distinguished guests, family and friends, and of course, newly appointed officers of the United States Army. It is such a pleasure and honor to join you this afternoon for the beginning of your journey as a U.S. Army officer. Congratulations on your dual achievements of earning a degree and a commission. This is a highly significant event in your life and one you will never forget. Congratulations to your family and loved ones as well. As a father of a past cadet and current midshipman, I know just how full of pride your heart is at this moment. I commend you, and the nation thanks you for raising and sharing your sons and daughters. Attending commissioning ceremonies is something I get to do once or twice a year. Usually it involves the Virginia Army National Guard Officer Candidate School classes. It's always one of my favorite events because I so enjoy working with our young Army leaders. That said, this is my first commissioning at VMI, and I'm very honored to be invited to the institution with such a storied lineage. Today I'll cover a couple of main points. First, I'm going to pass on 10 points of what I hope will be some sage advice. And certainly these are things you've been well educated on already, but bear with me. And then I'll talk a bit about your oath. Nonetheless, please accept my points as some thoughts born of experience you may want to consider. Point 1, professional competence. As you depart the Army ROTC program here at VMI, you join the Army with a solid skill set that has prepared you to learn. Moving forward with the basic officer leadership course and your advanced branch training, you will gain a skill set that qualifies you to join and lead a unit. But that is only the beginning. You will soon find that establishing and sustaining technical and tactical proficiency takes great time and effort. To be an asset to your unit and earn the respect of your peers, your soldiers, and your leaders, you must be competent in your role. Expect to work hard at this and know that it will take time and persistence. Point 2, character. There is no question that the moral foundations of your officership have been honed here at VMI. This institute has excelled at that since 1839. The point I want you to remember is that as an officer, you are the moral compass for your unit. You will undoubtedly face moral dilemmas that involve life and death. As the officer leader, it will fall to you to choose the harder right over the easier wrong. Your moral character and ability to exercise good judgment in volatile and uncertain situations will be what engenders trust with your soldiers, your commanders, and the American nation. The character of the U.S. Army Officer Corps is the most important reason why the American public so admires and trusts our profession. 'Twas not always so. And today, you now carry the burden of that trust through your character. Point 3, physical fitness. We are the profession of arms. We must be prepared to fight and win in every climate and on whatever terrain is necessary. This requires a high level of physical fitness. As an officer leader, you must lead from the front and by example. Maxing your fitness test is the standard you should have for yourself. But frankly, the fitness test is the easy part. The fighting load for an American soldier using currently issued kit is 64 pounds, including body armor, weapon, helmet, night vision, water, ammunition, and a host of other items. The dismounted approach march and emergency approach march loads for an infantryman is well over 100 pounds. Your fitness to fight is an increasingly high bar. Don't underestimate the need for preparation. And also never forget, your credibility as a leader with your soldiers relies heavily on your fitness level. They're going to be watching you. Point 4, know your soldiers and take care of them. This one is enshrined in the Army's leadership principles, and no doubt you've heard it before. I encourage you to truly get to know your soldiers. Learn about them. What do they like to do? Who are their families? What are their hopes for the future? Knowing your soldiers is the first step in gaining empathy toward them. You will soon find by your own observation that this seemingly simple point is the biggest difference between managers and leaders. Lastly, taking care of your soldiers is not the same as coddling them. There will be times when you must give an unsavory order involving an unpleasant task for the good of your soldiers and your mission. Digging defensive positions or establishing security in the rain after a dismounted 15-click movement is not fun, and it might feel like you're not taking care of your soldiers, but you are. And you can bet they know it. Point 5, lead by example. Again, your VMI Army ROTC program has certainly imbued this concept in you. As an officer leader, you are the example whether you realize it or not. It's your choice to be a good or a bad example. Everything about you is on display both on and off duty. This includes your military bearing and appearance, sharp or slovenly, your behavior, moral or not, your demeanor under stress, calm or frantic, and your orientation to others. Are you selfless or selfish? Always make a deliberate effort to be the kind of person and officer you would admire and want to emulate. Point 6, be a student of your profession. The velocity of change in the world and in our Army is breathtaking. Less than 2 weeks ago, the Army's new multi-domain operations concept was rolled out by TRADOC. Concepts precede doctrine, and this is the first new operating concept to be published since 1971, just before Air-Land Battle Doctrine came out. You see, the Army you are entering will fight in 5 domains: land, air, maritime, space, and cyber. New technology like artificial intelligence, quantum communications, hypersonic weapons, nanotechnology, and laser weapons are revolutionizing the modern battlefield. You must be a continual learner. This means you must take the initiative to read and be inquisitive about your profession. Don't merely rely on the schools the Army will send you to. Your education as a professional officer is your responsibility. Point 7, trust your NCOs. While I know you've heard this point, I don't believe a young officer can hear it enough. Over the course of 3 years being a platoon leader for tanks and mortars, I had 6 platoon sergeants. 5 of those platoon sergeants were the kind of men you'd follow through the gates of hell. They were loyal, patient, and highly professional teachers. They taught me as well as the new privates in the platoon. They will support you, but they do expect you to have the wisdom to consult them and ask their advice and counsel. Your ability to hold your ego in check and learn will be one of your first tests. Now, like I said, I had 6 platoon sergeants. The 6th one was not at all like the other 5. It was difficult, and he was ultimately relieved. Sometimes that happens. I tell you that because you need to understand that even though you're an inexperienced junior officer, you are still the responsible leader for your unit. That requires you to uphold standards and make decisions. Otherwise, you're just an empty suit. Trust your NCOs, but don't be shy about leading. Point 8, have a sense of humor. Look, you are going to make mistakes, and your soldiers will make mistakes. Finding perspective and being able to not take yourself too seriously is the gift that will keep on giving, believe me. Looking back over 30 years, I was involved in some situations that are pretty amusing through the lens of time that weren't that amusing back then. You'll have to find the balance between being too tough and being too indulgent. This is once again where judgment comes in. Just remember that it's not a sin to show some compassion when judiciously exercising the power of your office. That includes not being too hard on yourself. Like I said, you're going to make mistakes. The key is to learn and grow from them. Point 9, take time away. This is a lesson I came to late in my career. Indeed, as you get your commissions in the midst of this Christmas and holiday season, it's a good time to reflect on this. The one regret I have in my life is I did not take enough time with my family. I now have 2 sons serving. One is a Coast Guard officer commanding his own cutter. Obviously, I'm very proud of him. And as I address you, he's flying home for Christmas at this moment. It's the first time he's been home for Christmas since he got commissioned. His little brother's a naval midshipman, so I can see what's coming. The point is, the Army, along with other professions, will consume you if you let it. I've learned through bitter experience that I'm a better officer when I sleep, eat right, exercise, and take some time off to be with my family. I urge you to remember that. You'll be a better officer if you take care of yourself. And point 10, always expect to win. I'm one of those guys that's really competitive. I hate to lose. My wife won't even play board games with me, seriously. So winning was always important for me personally, but I never thought much about why until a couple of years ago. I was visiting my son for Plebe Parent Week at the Naval Academy, and they invited the parents to come observe PT on Friday morning. Well, I couldn't resist, so I went down to the yard and I watched the young midshipmen work out as the sun rose over the Severn River. At the end of the session, the commandant spoke to them, and it was obvious those young folks, over those 6 weeks of plebe summer, had been conditioned to always expect to win. Their confidence in themselves and trust in their teammates was as deliberate as it was self-evident. Also at that time, Army hadn't beaten Navy in 14 years, so it occurred to me they were onto something. With point 10, I'll leave you this. One of your key roles will be to build a unit that can fight and win because your soldiers believe in themselves, their equipment, and their cause. They also trust and believe in their teammates and you as their lieutenant. Throughout the history of armed conflict, that belief and expectation has often been the difference between victory and defeat on the battlefield. When you have that kind of unit, you can feel it in your bones, and it's the best feeling in the world. So always expect to win. All right, so those are my 10 points for the day, and I hope they serve as useful guideposts. In just a couple of minutes, we're going to bring you up on stage to take your oath and accept your commission from the President as an officer in the United States Army. But first, I want to talk a bit about your oath. The oath you are taking has not changed since 1959. The first oath by an American officer was taken in 1775, and that oath has been amended just 5 times in 243 years. In 1775, officers wishing to be commissioned had to be able to recite the names of the 13 states and swear them to be free, independent, sovereign states and declare no allegiance to George III, King of Britain. The commission you are being granted is under the President's powers enumerated in Article 2, Section 2 of the Constitution. The acceptance of your commission is conditional upon execution of your constitutional oath. While your commission comes from the Chief Executive, your oath is to the Constitution. This is important because as an officer, your allegiance is not to one person or political party, but to the ideals and laws codified in our nation's Constitution. It is a sacred compact. As you take the oath today, I want you to understand the gravity of your commitment. With this oath, you accept your commissions as officers in the United States Army. It's my honor to welcome you to one of the noblest professions, the profession of arms. May God bless you as a leader of competence and character, and may God continue to richly bless the United States of America. Thank you.
Awesome. Great words, sir. All right. Well, at this time, will all cadets commissioning as second lieutenants in the U.S. Army please come to the stage? congratulate our newest second lieutenants in the Army. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing as we close out with the benediction, followed by the departure of the official party and the Army song.
Receive now the benediction. May the peace of God always guard your hearts and your minds. May He provide you strength, confidence, and resolve. May your commitment to duty, to selfless service, and to principled leadership be the bedrock of your every thought and every deed. May you never grow weary in doing good, and may the promises to the faithful be yours in abundance. Amen.
Awesome. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the official portion of the commissioning ceremony. There will be a quick break as we transition into the individual oath portion of the event. At this time, lieutenants will be administered the oath by a commissioned officer of their selection. Families will have the opportunity to pin the rank on their new lieutenants, and first salutes will be conducted. There will also be light refreshments in the VMI Museum downstairs at your convenience. Thank you for attending today.